displaying the glory of God's creation by exploring America one park at a time. Welcome to Parking Full Time with Big Dave, the park's professor. First hole. The par and distance are at the top of the screen. This hole starts in the mowed grass area right by the parking lot, but it heads into the woods here. And once we get into the woods, it's a fairly low ceiling and also a pretty tight fairway here to get up to the basket. I want to welcome you back to Parking Full Time. I am Big Dave, the park's professor. You see, there's dense woods right behind the basket here, so you don't want to overthrow. This is still a pretty short hole, so a good first throw should set up a birdie attempt. The second hole is longer but very open. The top of the little mound to the left is the picnic pavilion parking lot, and it is out of bounds, but it is definitely in play if you go too far off to the left. And so there's definitely a safety hazard here. You see, there's one single large tree here right up before the basket, but overall this is a very open hole, and a pretty nice test for a long par 3. We are at Brook County Park. We are between Kalamazoo and Battle Creek, Michigan. In fact, this park is maintained by Kalamazoo County. There's the second basket. These are Mach 3 baskets. And they're older baskets, but they still seem to catch pretty well when I came here. The third hole heads into the woods for the first time, but definitely not for the last time. There are many more wooded holes to come. It's a pretty short and pretty straight hole, but it's also pretty tight and has a fairly low ceiling. Also, there is a lake through the trees and shrubs to the left. You can't really see it, but it's over there, and your disc could definitely end up there if you got a bad ricochet off of one of these trees. There's the basket, and there's the view back to the tee. The fourth hole is a long par 3, and it may be the hardest par 3 on this course. We start out in this fairly open area, and there's a pretty high ceiling here, but you can look up ahead and you can see that we are headed into the woods up ahead. And so this hole really tightens up when we get up close to the basket. Also, this hole plays across a broad ravine, so you play downhill to get to this area, and then we're going to go moderately to steeply uphill to get up to the basket. This is actually one of the more interesting holes on this course, and it is a par 3. Maybe it could be a short par 4, but I think it's okay as a par 3. The basket is back here amongst this thick grove of medium-sized trees, and so you really have to maneuver your disc in here and shape your disc flight in order to get close to the basket. Hole number 5 is the longest hole on the front 9, and it's also the only par 4 on the front 9. It has a fairly generous fairway, and it plays moderately downhill, and so in some sense this hole is actually easier than the previous hole, and some people think this hole should be a par 3. I need to say a word about course route at this point. The parking lot is off to the right. That's the parking lot that we started at. And this course brings you back to the parking lot 3 times, once after hole number 5, again after hole number 18, and then finally after hole number 24. There are 24 holes on this course. In terms of videos, I've broken this course into 3 videos. This is the front 9. Next week I'll show you the middle 9, which is holes 10 through 18. And then in 2 weeks I'll show you the back 6, which is holes numbers 19 through 24. The 6th tee is uphill to the left of the 5th basket, and the 6th hole is the tightest hole yet. We're going through and into a grove of pine trees here. This hole also doglegs slightly right, and there's a gradual hillside here that slopes from the right to the left. So you need a good throw and well-angled throw in order to hold the fairway here and get up here close to the basket. This is a nice short, tight hole after a couple of more open, longer holes. There's the 6th basket, and there's the view back down to the tee. The 7th hole is another short, tight hole, very similar to the previous hole, except it's a little bit shorter, and there isn't any slope in the fairway, any kind of cross slope. I captured this video on Tuesday, October the 17th, and it was a damp and chilly morning in the upper 40s when I came here and captured this video. I was the only person on this course when I started, but there were a couple of other groups that joined me later in the afternoon when things warmed up a little bit. The 8th hole plays out of this tight corridor of trees, and there is dense understory in the forest here. And so if you head off into the trees, that's going to be a tough recovery throw, or maybe even a lost disc. But after we get out of this corridor of trees, then this hole really opens up, and this is actually one of the wider fairways that we're going to see for quite a while here. Once we get out here into the wider area, this hole doglegs left a little bit, and there's the basket. Again, dense woods to the left, so you don't want to miss left on this hole. There's the view from behind the basket, back down the fairway. 9th and of course final hole on the front 9. This is actually the shortest hole on this course, and it looks like an impossible jumble of trees between the tee and the basket, but there's actually a little corridor off here to the right that is going to take us up within about 10 feet of the basket. So this hole's not as impossible as it initially looks from the tee. Since this is the last hole on the front 9, I want to thank you for watching. Parking full time would not be anything without the people who watch. I realize that every day, and I thank you every day. That's the end of the front 9. I will see you on the middle 9.